Welcome to Fit Chicks Chat. My name's Laura Jackson.
And I'm Amanda Quinn.
And we are super pumped to be with you guys today talking about business. It's one of our business podcasts. So, of course, as you guys know on Fit Chicks Chat, we focus on women's fitness, nutrition, wellness, but then we also have a secondary component where we talk about how to build amazing businesses in the online space, and essentially how you guys can do it too, and sharing our stories. I feel like my hair is a complete disaster right now. If you're listening to this, you can't see that, but we just had this big conversation about hair before we started, and I was like, that we're filming this as well. Okay, so let's dive right in. So today we are talking about the concept of launching a program versus running an evergreen program. Mm-hmm. So Amanda, why don't you start off explaining for those who might not know what that is, what is a launch versus what is an evergreen program?
For sure. So basically when you're doing a launch, you have like a lead up, a build up to like this one particular day that your cart, like you open your cart up, you have this build up to it, you sell it, and then you have the day that the cart closes. So the cart actually closes and people can no longer purchase that product or service. When you're doing evergreen, it's just always open. The cart is always open. Your marketing is consistently just pushing to that same cart. It's the messaging is always like, you know, to purchase that product or service, but there's never an end to it. So it's like there's a big difference between the two because the other one has a start and stop. This evergreen has just an everflow of information.
Oh, I love it. Very good explanation.
Thank you.
And so this is a question that we get asked a lot by our students and by our clients is, should I do a launch or should I do an evergreen program? Because as Amanda said, they're both very different, but not one of them is necessarily right or wrong. It just depends on, number one, where you're at in your business. Number two, if you have a big following. Number three, what your goals are. So from our perspective, what we kind of always tell and what we actually teach in our Fit Chicks Academy, in our business program, is to start with a launch. And Amanda, pretty much this is what we've done with all of our programs. Before they become evergreen, before we've ever done anything, we always start with a launch.
Yeah. Because it gives you the ability, like when you start with a launch, it gives you the ability to actually sort of like perfect it in a way, or at least feel like you've perfected it so that you know that your marketing messages, you can like look it through your launch afterwards. You can do like look at the aftermath and be like, okay, what ads made sense? What nurture videos made sense? What email sequencing made sense? What didn't work? And then you take that and you compile that into your evergreen, because your evergreen is something, it's got to be strong. If you're going to be running this constantly, you don't want to be spending money on ads that are not converting. So you want to make sure that if you're using the ads, they are ads that work. So by doing a launch first, you get that whole like bird's eye view of everything you've done to be able to then take that and say, okay, these are the pieces that work and this is what I'm going to use for my evergreen.
And I think what a lot of people, because when you first hear like an evergreen program, right? And I know even for us, when we first heard about an evergreen program, we're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense to start with that, because you have something that's constantly generating you income, right? Because it's running all the time, which is great. But when it comes down to actually really being able to market and sell and to build excitement and to fill your program, especially if it's your first program, it's so important to have scarcity and urgency. And with a launch, you have that, because with an evergreen program, when people know they can sign up at any time or they can join at any time, there's none of that like kind of like pressure or like, oh my God, like it's starting this day. What do I do? Do I do it? Do I not do it? So it's very easy to be like, I'll do it next week. And we've all seen it. Like, it's like, think about going to your local gym, right? Or like signing up for like, for me, there's F45 around the corner, which is like a group fitness program. Then I'm like, okay.
You've been talking to me about it for like 3 months.
Well, yeah, I lift weights and I'm like, okay, I need to go because I want to check out some classes just to switch up my workouts, add a couple classes a week. But because I can join at any time, it keeps going to the back burner because I just keep going to my gym and I'm like, oh, well, I'll just lift today and I'll do some cardio and then I'll go back to doing that tomorrow, because there's no like, okay, F45 is running a program like we used to do with our boot camps that starts on, September 1st and that's it, or January 1st or whatever. And when you feel like you can't get in, if you don't make that decision, it forces you to make that decision. So when it comes to a launch, that's where, I mean, for us, we've always done it for number one, to be able to test our content to make sure that it really works. Number two, for ease of management, because when you have a group in a program, it's a different mentality and it's a different approach when you're trying to manage people who are coming in at all different points, right? Yeah. So for example, for us, like our fitness and nutrition expert program or holistic nutrition weight loss expert program, we always have set start dates. We always do a launch for those because the structure of the program, it's really important to be able to support and navigate like the students all at the same pace, right? So if one was starting, and you know, we've talked about this at length, like we've been like, okay, do we turn those programs into evergreen programs? But we're like, we don't feel like we could deliver the level of support that we can if we do it as a launch. So those programs don't make sense for us, but that's one of the other reasons why. And then lastly, it's because you also then can get in a bunch of revenue at one time, and then you can use that revenue to put it towards creating evergreen programs and all that stuff. So that's the reason why I like to launch.
Yeah, I like launches too because I feel like there's a lot of pressure. Like a launch is like a big pressure cooker in the sense of like, because you kind of like, you know, some people don't like this because they feel like I put all my eggs in this one basket of like,
for sure, we felt like that.
If this launch doesn't go well, then what, you know? But like the thing is, I like that because I like knowing that like I'm working towards this one date. Like I know, like for our fitness and nutrition expert program, for example, it's like our next launch is March 27th. So right now I know for the next 8 weeks, that's all I'm really focusing on is just like all of my energy, all of my focus. How can I make this better? How can I make more impact? How can I deliver better? All of that. So like, that's like hyper focused on that one thing. And I feel like when I get more focused, like my delivery, everything gets better. Do you know what I mean? Like, and so it's like, if I'm not really focused on it, like if it was an evergreen program and you just kind of put it out there and you're like, okay, ta-da, it's done. And it's like, it's just running in the background. It's just doing its thing. You kind of can maybe forget about it and you don't give us as much energy versus when it's a launch. I like that it's like, it forces the focus to stay there so that you're like, okay, I can see where there's other things I can do and change and shift and like improve to be able to make this so much better.
But that's where you bring up a really good point, and that's what I want to bring up too. Even though we're saying all these pros of a launch, there are cons of a launch too. Like you said, you know, you don't know if it's going to be successful or not. And if you've never launched before, and that's where, guys, you know, we have our business program, which is a group business program about how to create and launch a online program. So you can check it out at fitchexacademy.com. We also do one-on-one coaching. But one of the biggest mistakes is that people they have a launch date, but they don't know how to launch. So what they do is they don't really do anything. They just have this launch date and then no one signs up and they think their program sucks when really their program doesn't suck. It's just that they didn't know how to build that pressure cooker and build that excitement and get people.
The launch sucked.
And how to launch it. Or they post it like a week beforehand and then they're like, okay, no one signed up. You know, whereas for us, we have our dates, like our launches usually start 8 weeks out. And it's a combination of building excitement through social media, talking about it on our podcast. We're doing info sessions behind the scene. We're running Facebook ads. We're doing Instagram lives. Like there's a whole process of building up to that point of scarcity and urgency. So when people, one of the cons is if you don't know how to do a launch, then you can really fall flat and it can be really discouraging. Also, the other thing too is that a lot of people, unless you have, I mean, we've always been really lucky with this, is that when we started our online programs, we already had a business and a presence. But a ton of people, the way that they really run their launches is through joint ventures. So that means that, like, if you ever, you know, maybe you subscribe to a couple people's email lists, like I know I subscribed, for example, to Marie Forleo, and suddenly, like all the other people who are within her inner circle, when her B school opens,
like Gabby Bernstein.
Yeah, I have like 10 emails from all different people because they're all affiliates of hers, right? They're all joint ventures. So they're pushing that to their list of bringing more people into her program. So that's a strategy that a lot of people rely on. We've never relied on that strategy. But it is something that, you know, if you don't have
a big list or
or partners, it can definitely be a slower go when it comes to launching.
For sure.
So yeah, so that's some of the cons of it. Let's talk a second about some of the pros of doing the Evergreen program.
I think some of the pros of the Evergreen program is that you have momentum. Like if it's like you're not having, like the start and stop, I think is good for focus, but it's harder for like momentum. So driving sales, driving your list, your email list and everything else, unless you have, like for us, we do our launch, but then we are always doing list building outside of that.
Yes.
So we are always doing lead gen on top of, like outside of our launches. But a lot of people, they don't do that. They'll just do a launch and then it's like, then they kind of disappear. Like not,
Well,
no
and just on that,
out there.
sorry, just on that, that's something that's really important too. Some people, they'll launch their program and they have a list. Let's say you have 500 people on your email list. You launch your program to your list and you get 10 signups or you get 20 signups and you're like, oh my God, yes.
Which is a huge return.
You don't do any lead generation. You haven't been building your list. You haven't been doing anything in between your launches. And then suddenly you go to launch again and now you have 550 people on your list and you get 2 people to sign up because you can't keep oversaturating your own list. Like
it's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because I just had an interview with somebody yesterday, a podcast interview, and we were talking about this and they were saying like the one area that they need to focus on is new list building because the people that they're talking to already know what they've got going on and they're not buying. So it's like, or they've already bought. So it's like, they're like, I feel stuck now because I'm not making any new sales, but it's like, because you don't have any new leads, you have to constantly be bringing in new people that are interested in buying what it is that you're selling. You can't just rely on the people that are on your list constantly. And I think with Evergreen programs, I think one of the pros to it is that you are constantly doing lead generation. You're constantly building that momentum and building your list over and over again. There is no stop period. So you don't ever stop that momentum.
And you're constantly
bringing biggest plus to it.
Yeah. And my other one will be you're constantly bringing in revenue. So your sales are not like, okay, I'm launching the program. I have 20 sales in the program. Maybe you're just making 1 sale a day or 1 sale every 2 days, but you have this steady kind of flow of revenue coming in. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to it, so just to kind of wrap this up for you guys, we've kind of given you some pros and cons of each. Yeah. What we teach in our programs and what we've done and what we believe 100% is always start with a launch, but really learn how to do a launch. You've got to learn how to sell and market because being fitness professionals, being health professionals, we just think that, we just have to show up and teach our programs or give a great meal plan or all of this stuff. But you have to start with your sales and marketing cap as well. So, start with the launch, really focus on learning how to do a launch properly because that's a skill set that you can use over and over again. Mm-hmm. Perfect your product. And then once you've gotten it down where you know that it's perfect, that you feel really good about it, that your sales message is right, that if you're running webinars, that your webinars are good, then put it on Evergreen. So even for Amanda and I, we still have programs that we're still not at the point where we're like, we want to do this Evergreen. We're going to do them Evergreen, but because we're still perfecting maybe the sales pages or the webinar content, and we're not at the place where we're like, this is so good on its own, like the content is so good already, but the actual selling of it is so good that we feel that we could put it on Evergreen. We haven't done it yet. So
like I said in the beginning, like, sorry to interrupt you, but like I said in the very beginning, like you want to make sure that every piece of material that you're using to sell an Evergreen program is so strong that you are not just throwing money away. Because if you're using ads that are not converting, that's literally what you're doing. You're just throwing your money away. You're giving it to Facebook. You're saying, here, take all my money, opening up your wallet and just saying, I don't want anything back for it. And there's no point. Like you want to make sure that like you use the stuff that works. So test it. Test it with a launch. Test it with a few launches. Make sure that it makes sense. Then convert it into an Evergreen program, the stuff that works.
And then once you have your Evergreen program, still launch. So this is where the kind of, do we do the launch, do we do the Evergreen? Do both.
Do both.
Start with the launch, perfect it, then go to Evergreen. And then when you have both, you're going to keep doing both. So that means that you're going to have, you'll be running it Evergreen in the background. So it's running constantly. Maybe it's not, you're not talking about it all the time to your list, but once or twice a year, reopen up a big launch to your list. Because again, those 500 people that now have grown maybe to 550, after a year, they may not have been ready at the time when you first opened up the program to sign up for it. They might not have been financially ready, emotionally ready. They might not have known you well enough. You might not have built the know, like, trust, and they're ready to actually purchase. So whatever that is, make sure that you're reopening it up, because there's people even on our list who like, we've been on your list for like 2 years and I'm finally ready now to do this.
There's someone who emailed me the other day and she's been on our list for over 8 years.
Yeah.
8 years. But you know, she wasn't ready to make that decision. And now she is. And now she's all in and she's joined all of our programs, and it's amazing. And it's exciting because she finally got to that place. But that's cool, right? Like they're interested, they follow your stuff, they pay attention to what it is that you're talking about, they see consistency in your messaging, and that's what will help them feel confident with their purchase.
Exactly. Okay, guys, so that is our business podcast for today. Definitely make sure that you are heading over to Facebook. Go to Build Your Online Fitness and Nutrition Biz, search Fit Chicks Academy. And you can join our free group where we're in there all the time talking about these different things, talking about strategies to be able to help you guys to really create and launch your online programs. We also have our new program that is going to be starting at the end of February.
Yeah.
So that is going to be our Fit Chicks Academy business program. Again, all about creating and launching an online business. So we'll keep you guys in the loop about that. But
if you want to join our waitlist, we actually have a waitlist for that. If you want to join our waitlist, you can email info@fitchicks.ca and let us know, and we can add you to the waitlist to join us.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay, guys, so have an amazing day. And of course, if you like this podcast, please leave us a review. The reviews really help us to make sure we're reaching more people. And also let us know what you want to hear more about. So hit us up on social media at Fit Chicks Academy or at Fit Chicks Academy Programs on Facebook, and let us know, because we want to make sure that we're delivering stuff that you guys really need. Okay, guys, have a great day, and we will talk to you later.
Bye.